and brawl, ground and pound. Get ready for an MMA showdown. Now, the ultimate Octagon Insider, Sean and Tristan Ducross.
What's up, everybody? Good evening. We are the Ducross Brothers. I'm Tristan Ducross. Along my side, as always, my partner, crime, the one and only, is Sean Ducross. Boy, what a show do we have in store for you guys tonight. So thank you guys for joining us. Appreciate the love and respect. Meantime, go ahead, pass us the popcorn if you want. In the meantime, Sean, it's been an interesting day, don't you think? As we were getting ready for the show and stuff like that, we were discussing about like which direction we wanted to take the show, and we're going to start off with UFC on ESPN 33. It's going down Saturday, and we kind of want to touch on this because I mean it's actually a good card, right? Compared to what the last couple cards that have kind of been iffy at best, this is not a bad card.
It really is, and it's one of those cards that actually kind of snuck up on you a little bit. I believe for the price of admission, when you look at just the main event and the co-main event, it's really enjoyable just for the pure fact of Anthony Smith coming back from his disastrous loss. And then you look at Robbie Lawler versus Neil Magny. We talked about it a couple months ago that Neil Magny needed to get his due. Well, now he's got his due. So it's going to be interesting to see how this all plays out, and we'll get into the card. But there's a lot of interesting scenarios. How ready is Anthony Smith to come back? Is Robbie Lawler's head still in the game?
Those are both two questions that I was thinking about talking about, just because Anthony Smith, Sean, it was a brutal KO, right?
Yes.
And people thought about whether or not his corner should have thrown in the towel, stopped the fight, whatever. But the thing is about Anthony Smith is that we all know he's a warrior. There's no mistake about that, right?
Correct.
But the issue that I have is, again, it comes down to the mentality. Like, what's your mindset like? Because when you're looking at Anthony Smith, dude, you're talking about a broken orbital bone. You're talking about a concussion. You're talking about facial fractures. This guy literally got destroyed. So how mentally prepared is he coming into this fight? Because he's facing a guy in Radek who has power, who is not afraid to wrestle, not afraid to get down and dirty. But I'm looking at him, and he should have won his last fight. There was controversy around that, whether or not he won his last fight or he didn't. But when I look at this fight, I honestly don't think Anthony Smith wants to stand there and trade with Radek. I don't.
You know, I was indifferent about this initially. At first, I was like, dude, this is all Radek. Like, this is his cup of tea. He's going to use the distance. He's going to utilize the spacing to his advantage. He's a more patient Muay Thai fighter. It's just all around clean, and you would favor him after the beatdown that Smith got in his last fight. However, since the announcement of this fight, the fight has gone from a 5-round fight to a 3-round fight. Well, so now
there's a little bit of a misconception on that. Yes, because originally
it was supposed to be a 5-round fight.
No, according to Radek said that it was presented to him as a 5-round fight because they were upgraded to the main event. However, him and Anthony Smith both said, no, we're good. We did not train for 5 rounds, so they stayed at 3 as the main event. That's what happened with the whole 5 rounds. It was never going to be 5 rounds for Radek and Smith because they were both not ready for 5-round fight. And it was the last minute that the main event dropped off, so they were bolstered up. So it was never going to be a 5-round fight. Neither one of them was 100% ready for it. It's a different gas tank. It's a different mindset when you're getting into the main event and you're going 5 rounds. Way different. So I understand why both men were like, yeah, that would be cool, but I'm not about that lifestyle right now. So they just kept it 3 rounds. So I don't.
Still, the point of the matter is that once it was decided 100% that it was going to be a three round fight, the switch of my gears switched a little bit towards Anthony Smith, because Anthony Smith in a 3-round fight, I probably wouldn't want to face the guy because he goes 100 from the get-go.
But will he go 100 this time?
That's the thing. If he doesn't go 100, then I feel that Radek is in the driver's seat because he can control the pace easier. It's almost as if Smith needs to come in and be Smith. If Smith doesn't come in and he's just a shell of himself again after his beatdown from Glover Teixeira, you got to begin to wonder what's the end game for Smith.
See, and I wonder about that about Robbie Lawler.
And rightfully so.
Because Robbie Lawler has lost his back-to-back his last 2 fights, right?
3.
His last 3 fights he's lost.
He's on the verge of going 0-4, losing 4 consecutive straight fights.
And he's going to get a guy named Neil Magny, who is no slouch by any stretch of the imagination, Sean. And the fact that Neil Magny, what's interesting about Neil is that he has a gas tank that can go for days, right?
Yeah.
So then, as I'm looking at Neil, right, and I'm looking at his body of work, and I look at Neil Magny and I look at Robbie Lawler, I see an issue in this matchup because I think gas tank of Neil, and I think volume with Neil.
Yeah.
And so then I think, well, can Robbie Lawler survive the onslaught or the pressure that he's going to get from Neil Magny because of the volume's going to come fast and furious with him? Can Robbie Lawler do it, or is it done and over with for Robbie Lawler? And a guy that's been in this fight game since he was young, is it time to hang it up if he loses to Neil?
Is it time? That's the question you're going with, Tristan. Is it time? If you lose 4 consecutive bouts, there's no question. There's no question that you hang it up. You're talking about a guy who got in the combat world when he was 20. You're talking about mileage. You're talking about beatdowns. Not only was he in a war with Rory McDonald that set the whole combat world upside down, basically became the MMA's equivalent to that of Arturo Gatti versus Mickey Ward.
This is true.
Took mileage and years off of each other. Neither one of them has been the same. And then subsequently turned around. And who does he fight next? Robbie Lawler goes right into the lion's den with Carlos Condit in another bloody bloodbath. That took another couple years off of him. The guy has a lot of tread on his tires and not a lot of left in the tank.
They're not good, your tires.
You're facing a guy like Neil Magny, who just put on what I believe as a boxing clinic. A guy who could take down an opponent who averages, I think, 3 takedowns per fight, was able to stand and utilize his jab and utilize the distance and control the pace in his last bout, where I called for Neil Magny to fight a guy in the top 5. You're talking about a guy who's been at the top of the food chain for so long, but continued to be at the bottom of the food chain. And you begin to wonder, how is that even remotely possible? And then you're like, wait, I know why. Because he doesn't really talk. He lets his actions speak for themselves and says, you know what? Hopefully that's the end result.
Doesn't do a lot of self-promoting.
But he backs it up in that octagon every time.
100%.
If he beats, even though that Robbie Lawler's on the downside of his career.
He's still scary with that power.
Absolutely. But he's a name for Neil Magny to continue to show, like, boys, how much more do you have to put over me before I get my title shot and my due justice in the UFC?
Right, because it's that ladder that you have to keep kind of climbing, right, Sean? So when you look at the name value and you look at what is out there, this kind of was the only fight that made sense, was it not, for Neil Magny? Robbie Lawler. If you're looking for a title shot at the end of the rainbow, this is kind of where you needed to kind of slot yourself. And Neil being, like you said, You know, like Neil is right there at the top of the food chain, but kind of right there at the bottom of the food chain. Needed something that he's going to need a performance here against Robbie Lawler that's going to be enough to kind of jumpstart the thought process of where he stands in the UFC.
He needs to put on a statement like he did with the last one, with his last fight, enough where he distinguishes the two and says, yeah, boys, I'm here. I'll make it a statement. And even if he fights the same way that he just fought, that's a big enough statement in my eyes.
Right. He needs to have the same performance that he had against Jingling. I think that's his name. God, it's just weird. I'm sorry if I butchered his name, but it's something like that. But he needs an impressive win like that, Sean.
Yeah.
That's what's going to set Neil Magny forward and where he needs to be in the UFC, correct?
I believe so.
Fair enough. We are the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. We're going to go to a quick break and come back out. And we got wrestling talk, WWE, NXT. Pat McAfee, he did what? Against Adam Cole? Baby. More with the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. Come on over. Pass the popcorn. Show some gifts. Show some loves.
Hit that donate.
Hit that donate button. Go for it. Your brothers will appreciate it. Keep us going. So on Sportscaster, new platform that we are joining. And next week,
we may have something special to announce for everybody.
Absolutely. Next week, we might have something for you guys. So,
shout out to Beth. Thank you very much.
Why? Oh, thank you, Beth. In the meantime, I love Auntie. If you like CBD, I got the CBD oil. I got it. I use it for my anxiety and stuff like that. So many people don't think I deal with that because, dude, I'm right here in front of the camera and I talk combat sports. They're like, no, what's wrong with you? No, I got the CBD. My brother uses the muscle rub because he got aches and pains. He has 2 kids that run around like little rabbits like 98% of the time. Crazy. So he uses the muscle rub. Go to iloveanti.com, promo code DuCrossBros, save 10%. You could go to our Facebook.com/the DuCrossBros and get a link in our description for ESPN Plus to save on the subscription. Cross that line with the DuCross Brothers. Enjoy the show. We'll be right back to talk some professional wrestling right here. The DuCross Brothers, a combat sports talk show like no other, hosted by Sean and Tristan DuCross. We talk about all the latest news in combat sports from UFC, Bellator, MMA, Muay Thai, and we even got you professional wrestling covered every Wednesday at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You can follow us on Twitter at the DuCross Bros. Follow us on Facebook, Sean and Tristan DuCross. And go ahead, follow us right here on Sportscaster. Welcome back to the brothers. We are the DuCross Brothers Sports Warriors. Cross that line with us. We are a combat sports talk show. If you don't know, now you know.
Every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Sportcaster.
Getting used to this new platform, Sean.
A lot. I'm enjoying the people here. I'm enjoying getting the chance to chat it up with other sports people, sports like-minded people here on Sportcaster, looking to do more here.
While we're live on air, you can always chat to us in the chat room.
Or apparently there's a new feature here called Donate that you can just randomly donate.
Right.
Even if you're just listening to us.
Right, yeah, absolutely. Just click that donate button, pass the popcorn, show some love, show some gifts. In the meantime, 100% honesty is what you get from us 100% of the time, right? Pat McAfee. God, I wish I could get this guy on our show. I really could. Get a little bit of the rub.
So then you figure it out how.
I'm going to try. Going to try. Because I remember for 3.5 months when we were when I was in my bubble, you know what I'm talking about. I became a huge fan of Pat McAfee. And you're like, what are you listening to today? Pat McAfee. Well, come to find out, he's been a huge fan of professional wrestling, has his own ring, been training. It's always been a lifetime dream. This guy, I'm not necessarily sure there is not one thing this guy cannot do. And he showed up at NXT TakeOver 30.
Well, Tristan, he had the best line ever the night before NXT TakeOver, and that was, I'm great in 8 different professions. I could have a chance to be great in my 9th profession and make another $1 million.
Yeah.
Oh, shout out to JB. Thank you. So I want to put it past him. There's something about this guy that he just gets it. He gets the work ethic. He gets everything that's going to him. Like he was asked about after the NXT TakeOver, and we'll talk about his fight. But just to put...
I like you call it a fight. Because originally, when I was watching Pat McAfee wrestle, I was thinking exactly that this was going to be a fight. Instead, it actually turned out to be a really, really good wrestling match.
But just put it in perspective to go from before we talk about the wrestling match,
right,
to the aftermath about that, and it was interesting because he was saying on his show about the fact that. Triple H, Paul, whatever you want to call him, to the media, was like, dude, you put on a show. And have you thought about making this further? And he's like, you know what? After that fight, I really didn't think about it until the day after. Then I began to think about it. And then he's like, but it's hard for me to figure out what my next move is because I get up and I do this show. Then after this show, I do the AJ Hawk show. Then after that, I go and train. And then after that, he literally has a schedule that's set forth before him. Okay, this is what I'm going to do. This is what I'm going to do. This is
well, that's kind of funny because that's kind of how we are we not?
Yeah.
Like we wake up, we have a day job. We do our day job. You have a family and a kid. So we literally wake up at like 6 o'clock, 5 o'clock in the morning to start our day, to get our day going. And everybody doesn't understand that, dude, we work 45 hours a day. 45 hours, yeah, 45 hours a day. We do this. We are literally prepping the whole entire week as well as we are getting ready for our everyday work, getting ready for the show. What are we going to talk about? How are we going to address it? So we understand what Pat McAfee does. We understand the stuff that he puts together. But Pat McAfee should seriously think about making this a profession. And he doesn't have to do it, 365 days of the year like every professional wrestler? John, he doesn't have to do that. There's plenty of wrestlers that show up, collect a paycheck, and go and do what they need to do, right?
Absolutely.
So when I look at Pat McAfee, I'm thinking, dude, this guy could literally make a professional wrestler do it very good.
Yeah.
And still do his shows, still do his podcast, still enjoy his home life. Congratulations, Pat McAfee, for getting married. Hopefully you enjoyed the honeymoon.
Even though it didn't last long because you turned around and went into NXT TakeOver.
Right,
30.
but you look at what he's capable of doing. This guy is a trend on TikTok now.
Well, because of the fact that when you look at his bout at NXT TakeOver, it wasn't just a wrestling match that you thought, oh, this is just an athlete. He's gonna go here and do this. He's gonna go here and do this, and he's only gonna do this one bump or this one bump. No, I swear to God, it was as if
he's been doing this for years.
Went to Adam Cole, said, "No limits.
Do whatever you need to do. We are going to do it."
and we're gonna tear the house down.
What was the one thing that I took? The ending of the Adam Cole.
Yeah.
We were sitting there and we were watching it, and I'm like, no. And you're like, what? And I was like, he's not going to do the Panama Sunrise, which is the flip over power driver, the Canadian Destroyer, to Pat McAfee. Like, there's no way.
It's Pat McAfee.
It's Pat McAfee. This guy is not well, he's been training, but he's not a professional wrestler. This is literally his debut. There's no way you're going to end it with a Panama Sunrise from the middle turnbuckle.
But what was interesting is the lead up. When Cole was taking down his knee sleeve, and he was setting up his, I forgot what it's called. No. When Adam Cole was taking his knee sleeve down.
Oh, yes.
And he was getting ready for his finisher for that one. I forgot what that one move's called. But he was setting it up, and Pat McAfee's like all groggy and like looking at him over with a smirk. And then Adam Cole looks at him, and he looks at the top. And then that's when we looked at each other like, no,
right,
don't do it. He does it. And that's how the bout ends.
Man, he sold it like a champ.
He sold it. I was just a little disappointed that Cole kicked out of the punt from Pat McAfee.
So am I.
I was a little disappointed on that.
I'm also a little disappointed because I've seen him do a frog splash, and which
I was hoping for Pat McAfee to hit the frog splash.
To go from one end to another real quick, Sean. If you haven't seen the video of Pat McAfee doing a frog splash, you should probably YouTube it because the frog splash is a beautiful thing from him when he's training. But I'm trying to figure out, how does he hit a better frog splash than Dominic Mysterio?
Or how does he hit a better frog splash than Sasha Banks?
Right. Like, I don't get it. A frog splash, this move, when you're going down for a splash, and how so many people make it look horrible.
Right? It's like, are you scared to jump high?
Right. But that's the only thing that I was looking. When he went up to the top rope, I'm thinking, yes, frog splash from Pat McAfee. But then he doesn't do it and ends up eating a super kick from the top. Overall,
interesting.
Sorry. Overall, I got excited. It's not my fault. Pat McAfee did that. Overall, Sean, Pat McAfee stole the show with Adam Cole.
Well, he
swan-time dived onto like 400 people.
And he did a backflip, landed in the middle of the ring from the top rope.
Stuck it.
And then ran and then jumped flat-footed to the top rope for a superplex. Go ahead. Name somebody right now that could do that athletic ability that was just a talk show host a couple weeks ago.
The fact that he did a backflip and stuck it and then looked at Adam Cole.
And Adam Cole's
reaction, that facial expression that he did to Adam Cole, like, yeah, I did that. What are you going to do about it? I'm like, bro, you are really cocky. Because if you would have not have landed, I would have laughed hysterically.
Yeah, that was one of those moments that, like, yeah, it needed to be done.
Yes.
And then the smirk from Cole, like, how did that just happen?
Right.
How did that
my main complaint, if you are new to the show and stuff like that, I've been watching professional wrestling since I was little. We are just now starting to incorporate it a little bit more into our show because Sean is actually back into wrestling and stuff like that. So it's just nice to have my brother back with professional wrestling because I've been watching it since I could walk.
Still don't like WWE Raw.
No, you don't have to.
Still don't like Raw.
You don't have to.
I'll occasionally watch SmackDown.
Yes. You don't have to.
I enjoy Impact.
But
I just wish the crowds were back. That's super weird.
We are never going to get crowds back at this point.
Hey, according to AEW, they're letting 10 to 15%
capacity.
Ooh.
No Thunderdome.
No Thunderdome.
Actual fans, 10 to 15%.
All right.
We'll actually get to hear this in the crowd. Not piped in, actual.
Right? The piped in stuff on Thunderdome is so weird. It's so not like listening to baseball or the NBA. The piped in type of audio.
What do you fans actually think? I want to hear from some people in the chat room. What do you guys think about the piped in noise in sporting events? Do you guys like it? Because there's some that do it really well, and then there's some that's really not doing it well. And I'm just like, Can we just please stop with the piped-in crowd?
And are you a fan of the virtual fans? Or are you not a fan
with
of
the WWE Thunderdome?
Well, not just that. The NBA does the virtual fans.
Yes.
Did you not see Lil Wayne was caught at one of the games and he was smoking a blunt? Did you not see one of the fans that was standing behind another fan and he was doing this to him?
Yes.
Like, how did you time that? Where, like, you're like, yeah, you know what? I'm on screen and I'm going to rub the guy's head in front of me. Like, seriously? Or wait, better yet, the Celtic fan that went viral for the fact that he was chilling back in his chair with a blindfold. Y'all, you fans down for this?
It's weird.
Or wait. The fact that the Oakland Athletics don't have virtual fans, but the Oakland Athletics had teddy bears. Ted, the teddy bear, about 5 of them
Sean,
down the left field line, and one of them got hit with the foul
I was just
ball.
going to say that. I felt bad for the teddy bear. They killed the teddy bear with a foul ball.
Yes, they did.
Smacked him right in the head and almost took his head off.
So we got our buddy that says that he's down for virtual fans, not so much on the cardboard cutout. I guess it just depends on who the cardboard cutout is and who the shot is at. I mean, come on. Who really hated to see a cardboard cutout of Steve Bateman? Like, that was classic by Oakland. It was classic by the fact that Oakland held up banners with asterisks when they played against the Houston Astros.
Is it weird to me that I like the virtual fans that like what Chicago does, what Kansas City Royals do, with the virtual fans that when you're watching the TV product, you see fans and they're like active and they're moving around. Not cardboard cutouts, but virtual fans versus the Zoom call-ins that you get for...
See, and then that's where I'm fine with. But, like, when you look at the NBA and you look at the Thunderdome virtual fans are from your cell phone.
Yes.
They're from your computer. They're on Zoom. And I just think that it's not that great for the fans.
I'm trying to get used to it. I really am.
But, I mean...
But it's just... I don't know what it is. Like, it's not very eye-pleasing, if that makes sense.
It depends on how you do it because, like I heard mixed reviews on the Thunderdome, okay? The Thunderdome is interesting because it's like layers. But when I look at the layers, I think of the one TV show that was on NBC, I think, the game show, who did virtual fans, call-ins, and it was tiered like that. And then you look at the NBA, I kind of like the NBA structure because it's a flat wall.
Yes.
It's a flat wall. You don't need layers to it. And I think that's what I like about the NBA a little bit more than the Thunderdome is because I think when you layer it in, it looks too fakey.
And why can't you... So we're on our phones, and I'm still getting used to this whole Zoom thing, right?
Yeah. God knows. I saw that earlier today.
Right. Shut up, Sean. That was something different. Don't put me on a Zoom call by myself. Say, hey, here you go, Tristan. We're going to have a Zoom call. And I'm like, well, what do I do? How come he can't hear me? But he can see me, but I can't hear him. He can't hear me.
And you're like, oh, just flip this up.
Yeah, that's just, dude. Can't hang me out to dry like that, Sean. Got to give me a heads up when we're on a Zoom call and you leave me alone for 2 seconds while you go deal with your kids. You got to give me a heads up on how this thing works. But why do you have to have piped in noise if you're having live virtual fans on a product and you can't even allow them to scream, yell, nothing? You have still piped in crowd noise. What's the point?
And that's the thing that I think was missing is the ability to like turn on your mic on your Zoom or whatever it may be, and then being able to funnel it into the actual broadcast. Because if you listen to Sirius Radio right now on like Busted Open,
yeah,
they're all in different areas of the world right now, so to speak. Because
gotta love the pandemic
that they're not doing it from the radio station itself. but they're using Zoom, they're using whatever else they're doing, and it sounds really good quality. So it's like you've got to see that. Our boys, Scott Kaplan and them, they use Zoom. Sounds really good quality. So there's ways to integrate the noise into your broadcast, especially if you're the high level of the WWE.
When you have the money like the WWE or the power that they have,
For sure.
you're telling me you still need piped in noise?
Right?
That's the only thing that's bugging me right now. Maybe that's why I can't get behind the virtual fans, is because I cannot. I'm watching this board of like thousands of people while I'm trying to watch wrestling, and it's kind of taken away from the action because I want to see the wrestlers in the ring, but yet I got this thing that's right in front of me, and then I got bad piped in noise from the outside, and it's just to me it's not coming together.
Yeah, it's not cohesive.
So to me, it's a little bit more of an eyesore when I'm watching it, because I want to see the product, I want to see the wrestling, I want to hear the fans cheer "You suck" or chant for AJ Styles but chant for Jeff Hardy. I want to hear. If you're going to have fans, I want to hear them.
I just don't want to see them.
Right.
Even though it's pretty clever to see a guy somehow get away with holding up a Chris Benoit picture.
Right.
But yeah, he's okay after basically WWE removed everything associated with Chris Benoit. But yeah, they're now going after the fan that apparently there was a fan that held up a KKK sign.
Good.
So
we don't need that.
Right? But it's things like that. People are going to find ways to get around it and to figure out what the loophole is to get certain things on.
Yep.
You're going to sooner or later probably see somebody try to get on with an AEW shirt before they get kicked off.
AEW shirt, bam, cut them,
toss them.
Yep, that's what Sean. Remember, I read it on last week's the email that I got that said you can't wear X, Y, and Z. So it's going to happen. It's going to happen. But we're the Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. We're going to go to a break. We got boxing. Sean Porter makes his return. A hellacious KO to a former heavyweight contender. Gets knocked out brutally. More with the Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. I'm Tristan Ducross. This is my brother, Sean Ducross. You're in the chat room. Thank you for joining us. Thank you for tuning into us. Appreciate the love. Go ahead, hit that donate button right there at the top. In the meantime, pass the popcorn, show us some gifts.
Hit the donate button, right. Whatever you guys want to do.
Keep this train going right here on this awesome, amazing platform known as Sportscaster. You could go to I Love Auntie, support our sponsor of the show, I Love Auntie, for your CBD needs. Use promo code DuCrossBros, save you 10% off of your purchase. ESPN Plus, you could get a cut on the subscription if you go to facebook.com/DuCrossBros. You can get the pin link, save off your subscription. In the meantime, the DuCross Brothers, boxing news coming up next. Cross that line. Join us.
We are the DeCross Brothers right here on Sportscaster every Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. You're looking for an alternative combat radio show that talks about everything? We're your boys. We talk about UFC. We talk about mixed martial arts, boxing, wrestling, anything that you want us to cover. We'll probably be able to cover it. You looking for something different, fun, and entertaining? We're your boys.
Welcome back to the DuCross Brothers, the Sports Warriors. Cross that line with Sean and Tristan DuCross every Wednesday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Sportscaster. Thank you guys for tuning into us tonight. Hit the donate button. Show your love for us this evening. Appreciate the love and respect that you guys are giving to us since we have joined this amazing platform. And we got some news coming up in the next week, which we are excited for and can't wait for you guys to see and announce it. So that's going to be kind of cool, right, Sean?
I'm looking forward to it, and I'm hoping that our fans are going to look forward to it, especially our new fan base here on Sportcaster.
Yep. So, Sean, no pun intended, Sean Porter returned.
And he had a mouthpiece that said, and still, and everybody's like, why does it say and still? And he's like, well, newsflash. And still means, and I'm still here.
Yep. But, Sean, what a dominant performance by Sean Porter from
Jump Street.
Yeah.
From the get-go.
I have not seen this guy fight like this since what, like 2016, 2015?
The only thing I was disappointed was the fact that he didn't put the guy away.
That I agree.
That was the only thing I was disappointed. But the interesting thing about Sean Porter is that he's got a plethora of opponents that he can now compete against for a title. But yet the one guy he's still fixated on is Earl Spence Jr. He lost to Earl Spence Jr.
And he really
wants that title shot again.
Yeah.
Like when he
but
was
Earl
asked
Spence versus Danny Garcia is going down first. So I think that if anything, Sean Porter gets the winner of one of those two.
Well, that's who he wants. He would love it to be Earl Spence Jr., but that's ultimately the fight that he wants is the winner of that bout. He doesn't want anybody else. He doesn't want T-Dub. He doesn't want anybody else. He wants the winner of that bout. If Sean Porter can come out guns blazing the way that he did, maybe he'll give a run for Earl Spence Jr. I think he stands better against a Danny Garcia. I like the assortment of punches and technique and style that Spence brings to the table more than Danny Garcia does.
I agree, but if Sean Porter fights like how he did against Sebastian,
yeah,
I think either one, Danny Garcia or Earl Spence, is in for a world of trouble because this is a guy that went volume, 300 and some odd punches, and this guy was throwing combinations. Like I wrote a slick combo in round 2 was he went body, left hook to the head, body, head with the right, body, uppercut. I was like, dude, that was a slick combo. I wrote it. Slick combo, round 2. This guy threw like something like 89 body shots in the fight. Everything that he could possibly do. I think that's why, honestly, it went 12 rounds, if you think about it, is because he was showcasing that, hey, guys, I'm still here. I'm back. I'm hungry. I'm stronger and better than ever. And I'm going to show you exactly what I'm capable of doing. And that's what he did. The amount of body shots, the amount of punches, the volume was there. It was exciting. You got to give props to Sebastian because Sebastian was a guy that was game ready and was tough as nails because he took some shots.
Yeah.
And he just kept walking, kept fighting, kept standing there. It could have been easy for them to have stopped this fight at multiple points in this fight, and yet he was still there. He was still in this fight till the very end. Not very competitive, but he was still in it. I just don't know what is left for Porter if he doesn't get a Danny Garcia or Earl Spence. No other fight makes sense but those two. It is either a title shot against whoever wins, and either way it's going to be a good storyline because redemption against Earl Spence for beating him for the title, right? Or a second beatdown of Danny Garcia. I would love the Earl Spence fight if Earl could get past Danny Garcia because we could talk about another possibility of a huge unification bout that the titles could switch over to Sean Porter if Sean Porter wins. That would be an interesting fight. What's not an interesting fight now is a Dylan White fight versus Tyson Fury. What's the point now of talking about Dylan White versus Tyson Fury when Dylan White put Popkin down on the canvas not once, not twice. Wait, yes. 2 times he put him down on the canvas.
Yeah, in the 4th round.
In the 4th round.
Alone.
And Popkin came back and destroyed him.
Povetkin came back and hit, well, like you said, a slick combo from Sean Porter. I texted you, he was like, bro, dude, that was a slick slip. Like, he slipped underneath, rolled out, and hit that left elbow.
Almost so resemblance of a Mike Tyson kind of slip.
Yeah.
From a big guy.
So it was like, sorry, Dylan. I know Eddie Hearn put all of his chips into the bag and said, you know what? This is our guy. This is our ride and die. He's going to be the next guy that's going to get Tyson Fury. But my goodness, when you get knocked out like that, you do not get Tyson Fury.
No.
You work your way back up the food chain.
Or you just call, or unless you look right in the camera and say, hey, guys, I got knocked the F out.
I'm calling for a rematch.
Yes.
Okay.
I want redemption. Like right now. Let's run it back.
So they're going to run it back. They're going to do another rematch between these two, which subsequently says, you know what? Clears up Tyson Fury for Anthony Joshua in 2021. There is nobody standing in the way of that bout happening unless Tyson Fury loses to Deontay Wilder. Nobody stands in his way now.
No.
Dylan White was the only guy in his way. Not anymore. Because now those two are going to be tied up. Deontay Wilder versus Tyson Fury happens December 19th. So those two guys are going to battle. And then you've got Dylan White. And then you've got the rematch between him and Povetkin. And those two guys are going to clash around December 2. So after that, if Tyson Fury wins, clear shot right at Anthony Joshua. Win, lose, or draw. Well, win, lose, or draw. No, he must win. Let's be real. If he still gets Anthony Joshua and he loses, something's really screwy.
But it's just muddy waters right now for Dylan White.
Absolutely.
That KO in that such a vicious way, you cannot help but think that this does not end well for him.
Yeah.
The way that the heavyweight division is cut, you just laid it out. It is very, very tough to flip that light switch and turn that corner to head into the big, deep waters of great white sharks.
Yep.
This is a setback. He has to now go back to the well because the water is dry and he needs something to be pumped into him. And right now, it's not looking good for Dylan White and the future of him heading into a possible deep waters because that was a bad knockout.
It was a horrible knockout.
For a guy that was claiming his throne already before and you get knocked out like that, man, can't do it.
But what can't be done is, in a lot of people's eyes, Tristan, is that the WBC cannot possibly be thinking about creating another weight division. Making an 18 division. 18. Whatever.
We need to stop doing that in boxing. We don't need 522 asterisks next to your name weight classes.
You know,
we
Tristan,
don't.
You sound like every other boxing fan right now. No. Don't do it. And
I just want like 2 organizations and like 2 belts.
Yeah, that ain't gonna happen.
Like, do you need 1,400 title contenders, title champions? Like, is it necessary?
If the World Boxing Council
Yes.
creates this 18th division, that brings 4 new titles.
See? Do we need more titles?
Yes and no.
Is WBC Oprah? You get a title. You get a title. You get a title.
Well, considering that you get the real WBC title, then you get an interim title, then you get the ring title, then you get the diamond title. So, yeah, you get a bunch of different titles. But what's interesting, Tristan, is like
That's why
I've always been
boxing needs help.
It does. It needs a lot of guidance. However,
Talk to me.
so the saving grace to me about why I was okay if the WBC goes this route,
Because of Oscar De La Hoya.
no,
Damn.
it's because of the fact that so this would be classified as the heavyweight division. So right now you have the cruiserweight division and the heavyweight division. But with
Would you get the super heavyweight division?
exactly. So the new division would subsequently come in and be named the heavyweight division. The heavyweight division would move up to the super heavyweight division.
So you mean Andy Ruiz would be able to eat all the hot dogs and the Twinkies?
and he'd be in the super heavyweight division.
He
weighing
can party
about-
all night, party all day?
And eat all the Twinkies and ho-hos. But
Sorry, had to go there.
but
Because of his last fight.
he weighed in at 268. So he would be subsequently a guy that would fight in the super heavyweight division. But out of the 16, so out of the roughly about 16 fighters in the top echelon of boxing right now,
Right.
the top contenders, whether you're a champion or not, 14 of them alone check out at 240 or above. Only about 2 or 3 of them check out underneath that.
Which I would say
So-
Anthony Joshua or Deontay Wilder would be 1 and 2.
You have 1 out of the 2.
Really?
1 out of the 2. Deontay Wilder's average weight
214,
is
215. Oh, okay.
220.
I was close.
Anthony Joshua's weight averages about 240.
Really?
So
He
you
looks
look at
I mean, I guess because of his height, he looks kind of a slender body,
But he's really
like
not.
a Deontay Wilder.
So-
So he's roughly the same size as Tyson Fury. Okay.
So the way that you look at it is like the cruiserweight right now ends and caps off at 200 pounds.
Yes.
The new heavyweight division would then slide in at 200 to 225.
Right, like a light heavyweight.
The super heavyweight will then transition from 225 and above. So Deontay Wilder, who notoriously is known for being about 220 on
Would
average,
follow in the heavyweight division, which won't get the likes of Tyson Fury or Anthony Joshua.
and it won't allow him to give up 30 pounds to Fury.
Makes sense.
The last 2 bouts to Fury, he's given up to almost 30 pounds.
which I
to Fury.
pointed out, yeah.
So you would give a guy who is very talented an opportunity to fight on more of an even playing field. And then you would have guys that maybe like an Anthony Joshua who maybe borders on like 240 and doesn't want to face a guy who's maybe 260 like an Andy Ruiz
Yeah.
or a Parker or guys of that nature, maybe even a Tyson Fury. And maybe he wants to slim down a little bit more, lose a little bit more weight, and then fight a guy like a Deontay Wilder. So you now position yourselves where
It brings up an interesting debate.
Absolutely. That's where I was going with it. Tristan was like, so wait, you got guys who fight up and weight or
Because
just
we've always talked about the weight cutting, right?
yeah. So you got guys now, Tristan, that fight at a level where they don't necessarily have to cut weight. But what happens if you have to cut weight?
Right.
And losing 20 pounds in a fight camp may not be that hard for a boxer to do, but may pose more interesting bouts in the future by creating this. So when I was like, wait a second. No, this is ridiculous. Why do we want to do this? And then the more and more you dig deep into it, it's like, wait a second. That's actually brilliant. Because now you got guys that you can go, well, you're not giving them 30 pounds. So a fighter...
Make it a level playing field.
So if a boxer may look at that and go like, I don't want to fight that guy. Why am I going to fight that guy? Because he's 30, 40, 50 pounds more than me by the fight night. But wait, you had to fight at 220? Oh, okay. I'm about 220.
Right? I'm good with that.
Let's go. Let's throw down. You'll probably more likely to see more people sign on the dotted line because it's more fair.
I can see that. Because it kind of comes back to the line that I was talking about on last week's show, was about John Jones going up to heavyweight. He's naturally a smaller heavyweight, Sean.
Yeah.
And here he's going up against guys that are literally going to be probably twice his size. So we know that the fight game is a ruthless sport. We know it is. We know when it comes into weight divisions how it works. Because you could cut 20 pounds, but come fight time, you're bloom right back up to a 20-pound deficit. We've seen it happen, right? So after you make good valid points, you know, with the debate, it does kind of make sense
for a guy who's been outspoken about how ridiculous it is for all these weight divisions.
But then we've also been very outspoken about the horrible justification about why you fight in this weight class versus this weight class.
Absolutely. And then the interesting thing, Tristan, is like the average of a heavyweight a few years ago was 6'2", 225 pounds. The average weight for a heavyweight now, the lowest, 239. The highest was 263. The average height of a heavyweight, about 6'6".
Talk about game changing, right?
So you're talking about not only are you giving up 30 pounds, you're giving up the height, you're giving up the reach. So yeah, the playing field has to be leveled. And want to know who led this charge for the WBC?
Lennox Lewis.
No, damn. Tony Bellew. Tony Bellew.
Hey, that makes sense.
Tony Bellew.
He's been a guy that's been around.
Fought at cruiserweight.
Yeah, I was just going to say
and
that.
Fought at heavyweight.
Yep.
Realized the difference of the fluctuating as well as how much pounds you're actually giving up to a heavyweight.
And he looks good at cruiserweight compared to heavyweight.
So you're looking at this guy, and it's like, I see you, Tony Bellew. You're trying to change the sport for the better and trying to educate fans and trying to help the health of a fighter.
I'm good with that.
You're looking at Olsnik, I think is his name. The other boxer, Olsnik.
Yeah, sounds about right.
He recently went up to heavyweight because he realized that's where he probably belongs. So you've got all these fighters currently jostling for positioning about what they feel comfortable at right now. And you could just create all sorts of levels of matchups in the future, and the health of a fighter will be far more better.
The long-term goal, the long-term outlook looks very promising.
Absolutely. But
too bad we can't say the same thing about Bellator ratings.
Right? Bellator 244 was the lowest rated on Paramount.
Bro, they got destroyed by professional wrestling by 4 times the amount of viewers. And I'm not even joking, guys. That's not an exaggeration.
They
got like 200 and something viewers on Paramount on their multicast or the whatever they do between the Zone and Paramount.
So
simulcast.
Here's some little stats.
Wow.
So they averaged 275,000 viewers.
There you go.
They finished 79th out of 150 programs.
Bro, they got beat by the demo god, Chris Jericho.
Their demo was 0.09.
Demo god destroyed them.
For the demographic of 18 to 49. Here's a kicker.
Demo god.
Since being on Paramount, Paramount has not done anything to promote them.
No.
Paramount, here's some, what is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 viewerships in the last 5 shows. 239 did 296 views. 240 did 310 views. 242 did 277 viewers. 243 did 403 viewers. Michael Chandler. Just got to throw that one out there. 244 did 275.
And that was with Ryan Bader.
But then
versus Nemkov.
There was nobody on that card.
That's very true. But still, if you look at the card, Sean, you had Ryan Bader versus Nemkov, right?
Yeah.
And new light heavyweight champion, Nemkov. We called that. Good job. Julia Budd versus Jessica Mile.
Called that one.
Valentin Moldavsky versus Roy Nelson. Defeated that one. We called that one. That was your main card. You expected, again, we've always said that, I'm sorry, Ryan Bader's not the best light heavyweight, just not a huge fan of his. He's not a ratings draw. And nobody on that card said that they were going to draw anything.
Right?
Except for that guy that was on the Thunderdome with the blindfolds, chilling back like that. That's what happened here. Nobody was interested in this fight card. Nobody cared. Bellator's going to run September 11th and September 12th in back-to-back cards.
You know what's interesting is that Bellator's leaving Paramount. If you don't know, now you know. They're leaving Paramount. Thank God.
Boom, mic drop.
The interesting thing here is that they're going to CBS Sports, where PFL is. So CBS Sports is going to have PFL and Bellator.
And again, something that we have been pitching for years was having a dedicated combat sports network that was going to kind of change the game.
That's going to be a hub.
CBS Sports has taken Luke Thomas' show from Sirius.
Yep.
They have PFL. They're taking Bellator.
Yep.
Just saying.
So then also, here's the other thing. Who does CBS Sports do partner with? Showtime.
Yep.
Who has a working relationship with Showtime?
Scott Coker.
So it was only a perfect fitting and only the right time to strike that when that deal comes, why wasn't he going to go to CBS? There's a reason why TNA left
Spike TV, Paramount, right?
There's a reason why the UFC left Spike TV. There's a reason why there's no combat on Spike TV or Paramount because of the fact that they don't promote combat sports well. How many times did we come on our show and say, well, why do you advertise if it's on Paramount if it's not on Paramount? It's only on...
I like Yellowstone.
Yeah, but I'm just talking about how many times do we come on and we're like, well, where's Bellator?
Right, but I'm just saying is that you promote the heck out of Yellowstone.
Yeah.
Which is their number one rated TV show. Get ready. They just had the season finale. They're going to have another season. They promote that, but you're telling me you cannot promote combat sports?
Right?
Like, I just don't get it. Like, how do you sign a contract and not help promote said entity that you had signed?
Yeah. Doesn't make a whole lot of sense to me. And so you look at that. So bravo for Bellator for leaving and going to CBS and joining a multi-platform where they're going to be on CBS Sports and probably on Showtime for their bigger cards or temple events. Also, here's a little bit of a tidbit. DAZN's struggling. Bellator hasn't been really featured on DAZN either. Their contract ends sometime next year. How much you want to bet they do not re-up with that streaming platform? So who is going to put their bid in for Bellator on another streaming platform? It'd be interesting.
It would be very interesting
to see if they still go a streaming platform or they just utilize CBS and, I don't know, Showtime. Because, I mean, you could probably utilize Showtime's streaming platform.
It's definitely going to be interesting come 2021.
Absolutely. Combat sports in general is going to be wicked in 2021.
Landscape, after this pandemic, it's going to change.
Yeah.
Just don't know what exactly it's going to entail. We don't. But, Sean, we are the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. That's it for the show. That's all we have for you guys. Thank you to everybody that tuned in to the chat room, that donated tonight. Appreciate the love. Go ahead, click that donate button again. Keep the lights on for the New Cross Brothers Sports Warriors. This is Tristan Ducross. This is Sean Ducross. Yes, we are identical twins. Yes, there's two of them.
So stay tuned to next week. Next week we have expect a little bit of announcement from us. So as soon as we know, we'll let you guys know. And then hopefully you guys are as excited as we are. We'll be back here next Wednesday, same time, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, right here on Sportscaster. Follow us, like us, donate, tip us, whatever y'all may want to do. But check us out on www.ducrossbrothers.com. See y'all next week. Have a great night.